Beta, Resolution 2014-03.
Okay, John Haas from Ransom is going to explain.
Good evening. John Haas with Ransom Financial Consultants. I think we've all met. It's good to see you all again.
Thank you.
What I'm handing out to you is the plan of finance. These numbers represent how we got to the resolution this evening.
Is that the same one I got at noon, John?
Yep.
Okay,
For your consideration, you have a resolution. The resolution title is the Resolution of the Dodge City Community College Board of Trustees determining its intent to utilize an activity center on the college campus in the city of Dodge City, Kansas, to negotiate and enter into a lease agreement with the Dodge City Community College Foundation for the use of such facility, and repealing resolution numbers 2013-10 and resolution 2013-12. In the resolution itself, there's many whereases, but if you turn to the second page of the resolution, under section 1, and if Glenn has other comments, that'd be great. The acquisition and financing and leasing of the project is the board hereby approves of the acquisition, construction, equipping, and furnishing of the project by the foundation at an estimated cost of $5.5 million. Now Roger said 4.7. We'll show you how we got from 4.7 to 5.5 here in a minute, which includes reserves, financing costs, and costs to be reimbursed from the FEMA grant, and approves of the application by the foundation to the city for the issuance of bonds. The board hereby further declares its intent to negotiate and enter into the lease for the use and operation of the project, which lease is be entered into pursuant KSA 71-201D9, and to be a true lease without an option to purchase. So that's the resolution for your consideration. How we got to the 5.5 million, if you look to table 1 of what I handed out to you. Under the uses of funds, we have an estimated construction amount of $4.7 million. The underwriter's fee, or the potential fee for an underwriting firm to buy the bonds and resell those, we estimated an amount not to exceed 2% or $95,500. Capitalized interest is not unusual. To capitalize interest to level out your cash flow to get some of your other debt paid off. One of the advantages that the college has is that all the debt that is secured by the property tax or the mill levy that the college utilizes is going to be paid off within the next few years. So we have a plan of finance that will show you how that works. Bond reserve is $413,365, which is the estimated annual maximum about that amount. Those funds are set aside as an encumbered fund in case there's ever a shortfall or a timing problem between making payments and when funds become available. And then the cost of issuance, or the fees associated with the transaction. Bond counsel, who gives the opinion that the bonds are issued regarding federal and state requirements. Underwriters counsel, that really is a disclosure counsel's position in this new age of the Dodd-Frank law. Institutions, attorneys, financial advisors, underwriters are all getting sued if things aren't properly disclosed. So now we have to have an attorney to sign off that everything was properly disclosed. Financial advisor is us. The other items are just miscellaneous items. Rating, we threw in at 20,000. We expect the college to get another A rating at least, and then miscellaneous to make sure that we have enough. We total that up, that's $5,426,000. We just rounded up to the 5.5 million for a not to exceed amount. Bonds, $4,775,000 that the underwriter would purchase. We'll also issue bonds to balance out the FEMA grant, and funds of the college is $160,000 because with IRBs we're limited to 2% cost of issuance for that. But because we are issuing, the city will be issuing IRBs, there will be property tax abatements. Only those items that are purchased with the proceeds of IRBs are guaranteed to be off the tax roll. So that's why we have bonds to exceed, not to exceed $5.5 million, because any cash, any donations, anything at this point in time that would run through there, we want to go through the IRB process to make sure everything stays off the tax rolls. If you turn to Table 2, depending upon the timing of the construction project, we'd see that the bonds would be issued and closed on or about September 1st, 2014. Interest payments would begin in 15, that's where you see the capitalized interest. So fiscal 2015, there would not be any net new requirements of the college. Interest only in 2016 of approximately $147,000, which would blend in with existing debt service. Then through 2031, the debt service payments would be approximately $400,000 a year, with the last year being paid off by the reserve account. The process that we'll be going through is that the foundation board approved the same resolution basically at a luncheon meeting today to submit an application to the city of Dodge City for them to issue industrial revenue bonds for an amount not to exceed $5.5 million. As in a marriage, it takes at least 2 votes to start a family, and we will need a positive vote from the board tonight if you wish to proceed with the project. If we receive a positive vote this evening, then application will be made to the city for the issuance of industrial revenue bonds in an amount not to exceed $5.5 million. It will be published in the Dodge City Globe, a notice of public hearing which will be on June 16th, so the citizens of the community can express to the City Council their opinion about them issuing bonds on behalf of the foundation as the tenant and the college as subtenant. And it'll be just a majority vote from the City Council to proceed with the industrial revenue bonds. If there's a positive vote, not only from you, the foundation already has, and the City Council, then we begin the process of issuing the industrial revenue bonds. As you may remember, is that the city will issue the bonds, lease the facility to the foundation, and then the foundation will sublease it to the college as an operating lease at that point in time. All the commercial banks in Ford County will be notified if we proceed, and we expect to receive proposals on the bonds on or about your meeting in August with that, with closing in September. Any questions that the board may have for me at this point in time?
John, I think it's interesting when the groundbreaking can happen.
Well, I would prefer that groundbreaking could happen after the city approves the issuance of the IRBs. So anytime after June 16th, you really have authority to proceed, even though bonds will not be issued. The celebration for me will be at the August meeting when the bond agreement is signed. And then I'm very comfortable on having groundbreaking at that point in time. Other questions?
You might provide just a refresher on where we were with this process 6 months ago, 9 months ago, that we put it on hold in terms of amounts and changes now.
Well, Veda might be able to give a better summary of that, but we were going to issue industrial revenue bonds through the county because one of the county members was an employee of Dodge City Community College. They couldn't vote, so there was just 2 votes left, and so it had to be unanimous, and it was not unanimous with that. So then it was pulled from the agenda, and we sat back and worked with administration and to find out how we might come back and proceed with the project.
Roger can speak to, Roger, would you speak to
Well,
how much, where we were dollar-wise and where we are now?
Our problem was trying to get the price down. And we, as you may know, we're well over $9 million for the project with the architect and the construction manager we had at that time. And they weren't getting along, they weren't working together, so when we went to Building Solutions and they put together some numbers, they were able to get it down to 7.7, and our target was to keep it under $8 million. So even though we seem to be dragging our feet, it's really worked to our advantage. So we aren't working with them anymore, we're working with Building Solutions, and it seems that everything is coming along since then. And so all that work will be done locally.
An example was that we had $500,000 to move a water line, and Building Solutions looked at it and says, well, why don't you just move the building over 15 feet?
That's exactly right. It was just that simple. Well, they didn't save us, they saved us $100,000, but it's a good
Oh, I
example
thought
of that.
that.
Well, they kept telling us it could be upwards of $500,000. And Building Solutions said, well, let's just move it over a little bit. Another thing that we ran into was the architect kept telling us that we could be building this for 200. Remember, I came to you and said 200, 250 feet? Well, when Building Solutions started talking to South Industries, who is the monolithic dome builder, the optimum height or width is 170 feet. Well, so we narrowed it down to 170 feet, and it is the best price for the length. So what we've done, if you look at those drawings, is the outside of the dome is that inside line, and then we built everything on the outside that we could keep adding as we generate more money. So the wellness center, the aerobics room, even the entrance is all outside of the dome. In fact, they have broken ground at Kinsley. Theirs is 170 feet. I drove over there Saturday to see how they were progressing. They've done all the groundwork, and they're starting to put up the stem wall. So it's interesting, they're going to be probably 6 months ahead of us, so we'll be able to watch how their progress comes. But Building Solutions were the people that built the inside of the dome at Fowler's. We weren't talking to them because we didn't, or Brian told me they didn't have the ability to bond it. So he has developed a relationship with Jim Coffin with JAG Construction. JAG Construction will bond the project, and the Building Solutions will build it.
Thanks for those clarifications. Any other questions?
I have a question that Roger gave us a sheet here. He lists about 15 articles that weren't included in the bid.
Well,
Those are a tremendous cost there.
Well, those are some items. What we were looking at was just the design. A lot of those items were part of the numbers that he had given us in the beginning, and those are things that we can raise money for a lot of those items.
We got to.
And until we have it completely designed, we aren't going to know exactly what those costs
Okay.
are.
Well, we're looking at about $2 million with what you got listed here.
Well, I don't know what those numbers are.
Well, I knew that. Obvious.
Well, that's not my job.
I think we need to get some costs before we get too deeply involved.
Well, we've done that.
They're not down here.
Well, I brought you the cost that Building Solutions has given me. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we build the basic structure so that we get the FEMA grant. So all those things extra there are things we'll have to raise money to do. So that's why we're only going for so much with the IRB, so we don't lose the $500,000 with FEMA.
Well, I just wonder what's going to happen if this Fort Hayes project goes through and we have to build some new dorms, and we already have all this money tied up in this project and we can't build any new dorms, then what?
Question for discussion. I've heard various other options kind of brought forth in terms of student housing, which could envision private partnerships, maybe not even the college involvement other than as tenants of these things for future growth. So I don't think we have to look at this being exclusive of being able to adequately house new students. We may just have to think outside the box or different ways. There probably are.
Well, I think
Waited long enough as the 2 mil capital outlay levy will come into play on this too, so,
How do you mean, Morris?
as far as funding is concerned, the debt service,
Which will help us.
yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I think Beta needs to comment too about the dates on their debt.
Okay, and I don't have that sheet right in front of me, but I think your first payment comes in the year 17. Okay, you have a 54,685 due on January the 15th, and then on January the 16th, you have a 146,915, and then it is on July 17, year 17, that you have your first payment, and we're debt-free.
So why haven't we been aggressively trying to pursue donations for this since we did get shut down by the city once, the county again? I mean, we've had, what, 9 months to get aggressive with raising money for it? I mean, who's,
Well, you're very difficult to raise money until you find out what you're gonna do. You know, there's gotta be a commitment, you're gonna build the building.
if they have a commitment that you'll give the money back if it's not built, people still donate. It doesn't take, this is gonna happen before people give money. If they know they're gonna get their money back, they'll donate it then too. I'm just not sure we've been real aggressive, or as aggressive as we should have been. And I'm not sure whose lap that falls in, but that's just the way I feel.
I think as far as fundraising for a project, again, you can look at it different ways. Like, I think both of you have good points that until you have a decision on what you're gonna do, it's hard to get interest built up. And so, you know, that's been my experience in other issues, but I'm sure that's not always the case. And I agree, I think we need to be really aggressive in trying to fund as much of this by donations. And I think what Roger's point is, if you get the basic structure at this lower cost, be able to get the FEMA money, and then all these outside things, you know, if there's a real desire to get those things built, somebody's gonna have to pony up some dollars and help fund those things, as I understand it. Is that correct?
That's exactly correct.
Because basically we're getting the shell and that's it.
What is the basketball court, those kind of things in the shell as well?
No, with the FEMA grant, all they want is a safe room.
Safe room.
So the only thing you have to supply is bathroom facilities, heating, lighting, things like that, a complete shelter. So that's why we priced it that way,
Right.
because we're running it up against a timeline.
Okay. That helps.
What is your timeline as far as construction? What's,
We have to
We
have
have to
it
have it
completed.
completed by when?
We have to have the basic structure completed by April of 2016.
2000 what?
2016.
16.
We have 2 years from last month to have that completed. Now, they could care less if there's a basketball court in, or there's bleachers, or there's anything attached to it. They just want the basic structure.
And construction is estimated to take, what, about 14 months?
Well, he's saying if we build the whole thing, including all the amenities into it, we're looking at 16 months.
So the basic structure itself would be something less than that.
Oh, much less than that. I think you'd have almost your basic structure when South Industries comes in. You know, Building Solutions build the stem wall, do the groundwork, and then South Industries would come in, blow up the membrane and do all the cement and all the work inside. So when they'd walk off, you'd have one great big large room.
Yeah, you'd have to put in your mechanical systems.
That's correct. Right.
So
Have it pretty well completed as far as FEMA's concerned.
Right.
So what's the
But
total price of the project gonna be from start to finish, while we get it completely done? I mean, you're looking at,
we think it's going to be just at $8 million, just under $8 million.
that's with all the outside rooms and everything on it?
Now, you see that we put some outside rooms in there as what-ifs. We put in their classrooms, and we put in there also the Child Development Center. Those are just what-ifs, so we know where to put doors at. So we can build that in phases. But one of the things that we want to do in the very beginning is put in the locker rooms, the wellness center, the aerobics room, the entryway. So it'd be the north side that we wouldn't complete. But once you start putting up bricks and mortar and people know that we're going to do this, it is a lot easier to raise money for it.
But like I said all along, what concerns me is we have 6% of a $8 million project. If we have $500,000 in FEMA money, that's That's my, I mean, a structure like this, I think it'd be great. I mean, I think it'd be great for the college. I think it'd be great for the students, but I just don't think I don't know. I just don't know that we can swing it. Or that we want to hang our necks out that far when we have this Hayes project coming up, and who knows how much that could cost us down the road.
Well, of course, as far as those dorms go, we won't have to really plan on that. There's other people that will, if we get that far. I had that same question.
But, you know, at that first meeting we had with Ed Hammond, he said they had private people build them and they were paying rent or whatever the situation was. And he said that he would never do that again because they learned a lot of lessons doing it that way. Now, whether you can still kind of do that, but not do it exactly how they did, I don't know, but it seemed like he had some reservations about doing it that way again.
Yeah, I'm sure there's models for this happening in other places so that universities, colleges are not taking on the expense of housing their students, but trying to push that off on somebody else. So again, it's an unknown, or it's certainly a question to consider. But in terms of expected costs, with the Fort Hayes thing, again, what we know thus far is the structures that are going to be utilized for the technical programs, that's going to be funded by the state. And so how we deal with new students and bodies on campus, that's going to be another issue for us to determine the right way to go. And I'm sure we're going to have options. I don't know how many years we went without building any dorms. You know, Beth?
Too many.
Bad.
70.
82.
30 years?
About then, yeah.
Stuff does wear out. So again, that's neither here nor there. I guess if you look at this facility that we're talking about, would it be an advantage to us right now, whether everything with Fort Hayes goes through or not? I can see it as a win-win, actually, but that's probably not how we ought to base this decision on. Is it good for us right now? Because we know what we're doing now.
Well, I think if we've gotten to this point, with the city behind us and the foundation behind us, if we don't do it, it's going to be a big, big, big backstep. It's time to do it. It's time to do it.
Well, Mr. Chair, just to get it on the table, I'll move approval.
Okay.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Other discussion or other questions? Could you speak to an aspect of this, or where it's going to come from?
Yes, we have a 2 mil capital outlay, and this will just take a little over one of our mills. We'll still have $300,000 left to do other projects. And when we first started talking about this, we were going to take both of those mills, but now we'll only need a little over 1 mill to take that. So you'll still have money for other upkeep and on campus and stuff like that.
Thanks for that clarification, that helps. Any other questions?
Now, we haven't talked about the wind farm money either. Is that something you can address now?
I mean, I think this year we got $350,000. And I think next year, do you know, Morse, doesn't it go up another
Yeah, I think we have one
80,000?
next year, and then there's 2 more in the works, my understanding, in Ford County. So there's 3 in the works altogether in Ford County.
So we will get another, probably 18,000 this year, this beginning July.
I had a question for Roger. We plan on using any of the tax credit funds for this project?
The tax credit application I applied for is directed towards this facility. I've applied, the most you can apply for is $250,000 or 50% tax credits. It would generate us $500,000.
$500,000. Thank you.
Other questions? motion and a second on the table for approval of Resolution 2014-03. All in favor of that, raise your hand. And opposed?
At least opposed.
Motion carries.